welcome to Gamechangers, a semi-frequent series apparently, where we interview industry professionals. I'm one of your hosts, Tim at Wembembo on everything. I'm joined this week by Adam El Hagar. Adam El Hagar?
Hagar, whatever you want, man.
Adam has been in a bunch of roles in the video game scene, everything from the new Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown, as Prince Ghassan, which is very exciting. I was doing some research early today, and that was a little bit mind-blowing because I grew up playing Prince of Persia.
Yeah.
You're Aevis in Final Fantasy XVI, and I'm a massive Final Fantasy fan. That's huge. You played Syed in Serious Sam 4. I loved Serious Sam. Bravely Default 2, you were Prince Castor. Azrael in Bleeding Edge, you're in Assassin's Creed Origins, and that's just to name a few. In terms of your on-screen appearances, you've got Peaky Blinders as Ollie, you're in Tyrant as Sadiq, you're in Catherine the Great as Valerian Zubov, which my girlfriend absolutely loved, so she was a little bit blown away to see that this whole thing is happening. Adam, how are you doing?
I'm great, man. I'm very good.
Good. So, just to kind of give the audience a bit of a rundown on how the show works, if this is your first time listening, I'm going to be asking Adam some questions that are tailored specifically to him and his career. We're going to have a little bit of a back and forth, and then we'll go into a Desert Island Disc style question, the same questions for every guest, every episode. So, very, very open question to begin with, just to see where you're at creatively. What are you watching or playing right now?
Well, firstly, I get a lot less time to play stuff now because I have a 1-year-old. But I am playing the Metal Gear Solid Master Collection right now.
How is that? I'm looking at that.
You know what? It's there's a lot of nitpicking about it not being the best ports and all that kind of thing. But just playing it on the PS5, 1, because Metal Gear Solid 1 is my favorite game, of all time. It's it kind of really, I've always been into movies and scripted stuff and narrative stuff since I was a kid, and I've always wanted to be an actor. But that was the first time where those two kind of things met. But long story short, it's great, and I'm loving it.
Fantastic. Are you so are you partway through the first game now, or are you somewhere in between 2 or 3?
Yeah, I'm still in the first. I think I just beat Sniper Wolf.
Oh, good fight.
So it's the kind of torture bit. But like I said, I have a young child, so I only get to play, very, very occasionally. And otherwise, I'm catching up on The Bear. Love The Bear. I think
now,
it's
I'm told that's really good, and certain the Christmas episode is some of the most tense shit going.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen the Christmas episode. I'm in partway through series 2, and it's just so cool, the concept of it, and so that's what I'm digging right now. And then whatever movies, award season, we get a lot of, screening sort of invites and stuff. So I'm trying to attend as many as I can just to see what, during award season, just to see what movies are out there, at the moment.
Yeah. Any particular highlights recently, or?
I don't think I've seen a film recently. Actually, I think I'm. You know what? I'm going to see Napoleon on Wednesday, the new Ridley Scott movie.
Oh, okay. I was going to say that is the new Ridley Scott film.
Yes, I don't think it's out yet, but I'm going to a screening to see it. So I'll text you. I'll tell you how it is.
Nice. So just to pull this more around to your acting and mostly voice acting career.
Yeah.
How was it that you got your start? What was your foot in the door for voice acting, would you say?
It was literally just people would always say, "Oh, you have a good voice. You should do voiceovers. You should do radio. BBC radio, that kind of thing." So I just I just kind of asked my agent for acting stuff. Do you do voiceover? And they said no. So they just put me in touch with a voiceover agent. And I've been with them ever since, and it's, I just started kind of auditioning for things like video games and adverts and that kind of thing. And then what happened is I started working with this studio called Side in London, who do every video game you can think of. They did Final Fantasy. I did Bravely Default with them. Prince of Persia, Assassin's Creed. The first one I did was with Side. They did The Witcher 3.
Oh wow!
Very, very famously, they did all the Cyberpunk games. They did Death Stranding. So they are the go-to place in London, the go-to studio. And essentially, I just have developed a really good relationship with them, and so I just keep working with them. And that's kind of how I've fallen into sort of primarily doing video game voiceover. And I'm not complaining because I love video games, so it's all good. Sure. It's all good.
And in terms of like when you're like researching roles and what have you, would you say you have any particular big influences? And now this is a reference more to like screen and video game voice acting. Like, is there anyone that you would look to be like, oh, I want to pull something from this and pull something from that?
It really depends on the role. Like every role that I do, I pull influences from different things. For Aevis in Final Fantasy, I actually looked at Cam Clark as Liquid Snake. I kind of, because I guess for the visual roles, you think about, you might think about a visual performance from someone or someone that for example, I think when Tom Hardy was researching for Bane, he based him on like a bare knuckle like gypsy fighter that he met, who kind of introduced himself, very like, hello, I'm this person, I'm this, kind of and so Aevis, the kind of character bio they gave me, his characteristics just lent himself to that kind of voice. So I just kind of thought, I might just like sneak a little bit of Liquid Snake in here and see how much I can get away with. And I think what it ended up with, is quite a nice sort of hybrid between me and that character, But I pull influences from all sorts, everywhere. I just did a film where I was playing like a religious leader, and the director kept telling me to kind of have sort of grounded energy. So I kind of pulled, from like Alfred Molina and Robin Williams in Good Will Hunting, like a kind of shepherding energy. It really is. It really depends.
I'm going to ask now, how many of your performances would you say have roots in Metal Gear Solid?
I think it's only that one. Actually, Prince Castor was a bit of Liquid Snake as well. Just for the kind of like stubbornness. A
little bit of grit.
I'm a huge. I love that game, and I just think it's huge. And I actually got the chance to have a chat with David Hayter last year or the year before, just about some work stuff. But that was I was trying to be really cool the whole time. And it's so funny because the first thing he did was he was wearing a face mask because it was during COVID. So It must have been a couple of years ago. And I was like, oh, hey, David, I didn't recognize you with the face mask. And he went, oh, no, it's me, it's Snake. And I was like,
oh, no. If only you followed up with kept you waiting, huh?
Yeah, oh, man. Yeah. But that was cool.
That's very, very cool.
Yeah.
In terms of roles that you tend to audition for and like ones that you're looking to, what draws you in? What kind of character would you say you're like? You look at a character and you'll be like, that, I'm going for that.
I think it just has to be. It has to be. It all starts with the script, right? The script has to be solid and make sense and be well written. And sorry if you just had a bong sound from my computer.
No, that's fine.
For example, I just did a short film where I was playing a rabbi, and I just thought it was just such a lovely sort of Jewish story, about, it wasn't political in any way. It wasn't kind of laden with the difficulties of what we've been facing in this country the past few years, to do with the Jewish faith and that kind of thing. I just thought, it was a really lovely story, and it was a well very well represented kind of modern like Jewish rabbi who just wanted to like help his community and stuff. And I think projects, from project to project, some jobs that you get, because I'm a working actor, it's hard for me to sort of turn down roles,
Sure. Yeah.
Especially as I have a family now. But I think, some jobs come along, and, like last year I worked with Alfonso Cuarón on his new series called Disclaimer. And it's just, as soon as somebody says Alfonso Cuarón's, I'm like, yes,
Yeah.
Immediately, it's like you want to work with the best, and he is one of the best, and just have that experience. And then some jobs come along and you kind of go, okay, well, what are they trying to do with the story? Like, what is the main character kind of saying? Is it serving that? And as someone who's, I'm half English, I'm half Egyptian, I have some Jewish roots on my mother's side, so I often get, sort of, maybe it would be like an Arab role, or a Jewish role, or, and for me, when it's like a minority role, I want to know that it's well written,
Sure.
because, for example, like there's obviously a history of Arab roles not being that well written, a lot of stereotypes, that kind of thing. Thankfully, that's really not the case anymore. It's so much better than it was 10 years ago. So that kind of stuff, I'm a lot more, I place more scrutiny on it, and I'm kind of, I want to know that it's been done well. Who's in the writer's room, for example?
Yeah.
Is this a true, have you talked to anybody from that region, that kind of thing?
Sure.
Yeah.
You got to make sure that the representation is there and accurate.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
It's important. In terms of because we touched briefly at the beginning on some of the roles that you're known for. What would you say has been your most challenging role in terms of either screen performance or voice acting?
I mean, the role I just did was pretty challenging because I had to sort of like learn some Hebrew and chant and do some singing and but it was very cool. I went to like a Shabbos and I met with rabbis, and I was quite nervous about doing it because my Jewish heritage is quite small. It's compared to if I was doing something like Egyptian, or English, so I just wanted to do it right. I would say that Prince Castor was a pretty tough role because he kind of goes a bit manic at certain points. So there was a lot of, this is the thing, as I don't know if, was it Andrew you said? The guy
Andrew Bowen, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know if he talked to you about the screaming that you do in, but that can be really tough. I did a job once, there's a great video game and TV director called Kate Saxon, and
yes,
she'll laugh if she hears this, but we were doing a job together. I think it was just for like a trailer, like a voiceover for a game trailer, and then I had to do some like screaming, and then the guy kind of tuned in and was like, I had to do like a death noise, and then the guy on the other line tuned in and was like, yeah, can you do it again, but just unimaginable pain? And I was just like, well, I don't know if I can imagine that. It's like, but obviously I'm a professional and I did it. But it's that thing of like, you can really like wreck your throat if you're not sort of careful.
I've seen videos of some of the behind the scenes stuff of like old school Dragon Ball cartoons, for example.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, like Ben, who played Clive in Final Fantasy XIV, I don't know how many. Somebody said I think he did like 1,000 hours in the booth or something, and I just, man, he does some screaming in that game. So
that's brutal. That is.
Yeah,
I've not played 16 as of yet. We're looking at getting a PS5. We're just trying to sell the PS4s first.
Fair enough. Yeah.
But 16 is absolutely on the list. But from what I've seen, 1,000 hours does seem brutal, especially for a game of that kind of scope and level of drama.
But it was over like 4 years. We like, like I got that job in 2019.
Oh wow!
and we were working on it until, I guess, beginning of last year or year before. I can't remember, but yeah, I mean, but the incredible thing about that game is just it was just so well, directed, and the team were just incredible, and the script was brilliant. Like it was really, like, I thought, a real step up in performance in video game voiceover. It is really, everyone just brings it. It's really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
In terms of projects,
Mhm.
hypothetically speaking, let's say you can snap your fingers and say, I'm working on this. What's the dream project?
Huh. It's funny. Like I've always wanted to play Freddie Mercury in a movie, and then Rami did it. But the thing is, like, Rami's really cool, and he's also Egyptian, which is, so I was kind of like, you know what, if anyone's going to do it, you can do it. But I would love to have the chance to play him at some point in my life. Do you know what I mean? I think he's just, he's like my musical hero.
He's an icon.
I just share a lot of, like, I find him so intriguing, and I love him to bits, and I'd love to play him. And I would also, if anyone's listening, if they make that Metal Gear Solid film, I mean, right here,
Thanks.
I'll I think Oscar Isaac's tipped to play Snake, but I mean, I could play someone else. Yeah. I could play,
Liquid Snake. We've already referenced it.
I could play Liquid Snake. I mean, I've literally, come on. Yeah. I've given Liquid his flowers, like, in a few video games.
Do you ever go back and play? Obviously, you said you don't have much time at the minute, obviously, with your 1-year-old. But
yeah.
Have you ever gone back and played the stuff that you featured and just be like, that was me?
So I got Final Fantasy XIV because I just thought it was sort of too close to my childhood to not get that game, and it was so strange kind of playing it and hearing my voice coming out of the TV, and I was like, this is so weird. But other games I've not, I don't have a Switch and that kind of thing, so I always check stuff out. I checked out Bravely Default on and I plan to play Prince of Persia because it looks really good, actually.
It looks amazing.
Yeah, it looks really cool, and I was talking to the director about it, and we were just sort of saying how it just looks like such a cool way to bring back the franchise as a game. It's very, it's different. It's not what you'd expect.
No.
And it was a blast doing it. It was really cool. Yeah, but yeah, yeah. I do. I'm always intrigued. I always watch my performances. Some people don't, but I think it's the only way you really learn. Personally.
It allows you to self-reflect. I mean, it's
Definitely.
often said that we're our own worst critics. So I suppose if you're able to pick apart your thing constructively, you'll know what you do different next time, maybe.
I always just think it's like facing your fear, like I don't want to, like, I do know a lot of actors who don't watch their stuff, and I think fair enough, but whenever I don't feel like watching my own performances, it's because I'm scared it's going to be bad. So I just think it, who cares if it's bad, or who cares if it was, you just got to, like, face it and then be like, okay, maybe it wasn't so bad, or maybe I can correct this here and there, or maybe it was brilliant, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alrighty. And in terms of, like, your video game voice acting career, what characters would you say that you've enjoyed the most performing? Obviously, you've mentioned your ties to Final Fantasy, but would you say your work in Prince of Persia was, like, up there as your favorites, or your or Final Fantasy, or Assassin's Creed?
Yeah, I think my favorites have been Prince Castor and Aevis, for sure. They were around the same time doing those two jobs, but obviously Aevis just was like much. It just, Aevis was a 4-year long lasting job where I'd just pop in every now and then and be like, hey guys. I think it was just because the roles were like, I could, especially Prince Castor, like, it was a complex role, and I could really kind of, like, get into stuff and use, actually with Prince Castor, I had, because sometimes I use songs to kind of get into to for influence for characters, and for that one I had Epic by Faith No More.
All right, yeah.
Just you want it all, but you can't have it. That classic kind of tyrant
Yeah.
mentality. So that was really fun. And then Aevis was just like, I mean, this is the thing about like when you're doing a game, they never, they don't tell you what it is until it's announced. But you know.
Yeah.
And if especially if you're into video games, you know what it is. So
Yeah.
Aevis was very exciting because I was just like, I know, I'm pretty sure this is a mainline Final Fantasy game, and like me and my housemates were like, I'm pretty sure this is like proper script, like
Yeah.
and stuff. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. And then the last question I've got that's kind of tailored specifically for you here before we get onto our Desert Island Discs questions. If you could change one thing about the video game industry as a whole, what would it be? Now, it can be anything from your personal experience or just what you know about the industry from playing games or reading about games or whatever you'd like.
I think I really like what, I am a big fan of what Xbox has done with Game Pass and the day one exclusive thing. I think all it's done is just brought more people to their platform, and I think I kind of wish that there was some sort of option with Sony first party games because they're just so expensive. I'm like I would love to play Spider-Man 2 tomorrow, but I'm just not gonna. I'm just waiting. I'm waiting till it's like a sensible price. And I think inflation and all that, and it's we are living in a times. I think I've got a copy somewhere of back in Birmingham at home of Tomb Raider 3 on PS1, and there's a label on it that says it was $44.99 at HMV, and I just think like, what,
Yeah.
for that game, but then you just think, well, that's how much, games have always been expensive, and I just think they don't, I think Xbox has kind of proven that they don't have to be. Like there is a way, there is an affordable way you can get in where more people can play. That's.
Are you on Game Pass or Game Pass Ultimate or?
I had an Xbox, but I'm fully PS5 now.
Fair enough.
Just because of time, and I just feel like my time is better suited to focusing on those kind of exclusives or the narrative stuff.
Is the PlayStation Portable something? Not Portable. PlayStation Portal something you're looking at?
No.
Do you know about it?
Yes.
And
I know it's not a Steam Deck type situation. Yes. So for that reason, you know what? I've never really been into portable stuff. Anyway, I'm much more of a I want to watch movies with like 5.1, big screen. And I just sort of feel like I feel the same way about games, actually, especially sort of cinematic ones. I want to play them on a big screen, All
right, fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, that's the last of our kind of centralized to you questions, but cool. We have our Desert Island Discs kind of portion here, just to kind of get an idea of where your creative inspirations come from. So, are you familiar with Desert Island Discs?
Yeah, man.
Great. All right, so the first question that we're going to ask is, you're obviously stranded on a desert island. You can bring a number of items with you, but the first thing we're going to bring is one book. What are you bringing?
Ooh, that's a great question. You know what? Because I'm thinking about it a lot at the moment, I'm going to bring The Creative Act by Rick Rubin.
What's it about?
It came out, I think, last year or the beginning of this year. And so Rick Rubin, the very prolific record producer, has basically written a book of all the sort of the things he's learned about creativity over his lifetime. And it's fantastic. It's really, it's very thought-provoking. I think for any creative, I recommend it to, the other day I recommended it to a painter. I recommend it to anyone. I've started making music again solo, so I found it invaluable in terms of just kind of like it's perfect for like getting out of your head as an artist. So I'd take that.
That's really interesting. Like you see a lot of books like from people in like the music or the film industry talking about their creative process, but kind of creativity as a whole. That's a
Yeah.
really unique take.
I mean, he's a really fascinating person because he doesn't play music. Like he's not a musician. He's just tuned in to good taste, I guess, or he's just tuned into something where he just really pays attention to like what makes him feel good while he's listening to a band's music. And yeah, really cool guy.
Sounds interesting. I'm probably going to look that up.
Yeah, check it out. And he's got a great audiobook. It's on Audible. And he's narrating it. It's got these great kind of like meditation, like sort of gong sounds in between the chapters. It's so good.
That's amazing. So the next thing we're bringing to the island, 3 albums.
Okay. Blood Sugar Sex Magic by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. That's probably my favorite album of all time. That's a Rick Rubin album. And it's like equally the songwriting as it is the making of it. Like, the making of it was fascinating to me because he kind of said to them, like, do you like recording albums? And they were like, no, we don't like the sort of sterile studio kind of atmosphere. So he was like, okay. So he rented this big haunted mansion in Laurel Canyon in LA, and they sort of placed like the drums downstairs, and Anthony was at the top, like singing, in like this tower room, and they placed, so it had like proper like room sound and really cool. And they lived there while they made the album. It's like an experience. It was like a sort of experiment, basically.
That's really cool.
Yeah, really cool. So I would say, yeah, that album. What else? Oh, I'm such a music nerd. This should be so easy for me. What else?
You're pulling up Spotify, or
I'm pulling up my Last FM. Do you use that?
I don't. I've used it before, but just not so much these days.
Okay, so I'm gonna take Imagine by John Lennon.
Okay.
Yeah, just because it's beautiful. And I'm also gonna take. It's got to be a Nirvana album.
Okay.
But I can't decide between. I'm gonna say. Never mind.
But
In Utero is amazing. Amazing.
This
too.
Close.
Yeah, it's so good. Yeah,
amazing. And then the last. Last. We've got 2 more things to go. We've got 5 movies.
Okay. So I'm gonna say A Clockwork Orange.
Okay.
7 by David Fincher, just because I think it's perfect.
It's a phenomenal movie.
It's perfect. I think these are 2 pretty dark movies. Terminator 2.
Yep.
Judgment Day, because obvious reasons. It's amazing.
Sure.
Man, Dumb and Dumber.
That's a bit of a curveball. How come?
Because you gotta have something funny.
Sure, I suppose.
You gotta have something funny, and it's a very funny movie.
Yeah, especially
it's just got some dead budgie. There's just some like out of the blue, she gave me a John Deere letter. Hilarious. Hilarious.
Forgot about that bit. I haven't seen that film in a very long time.
So funny. And I would say The Godfather.
Yeah.
Yeah,
just because of it's The Godfather, I suppose.
Because it's The Godfather, and I just love like young Al Pacino acting. I just think it's just so like he's just so good.
And the last thing that's going to the island is one luxury item.
It would have to be like a Like if I said like music studio, could that include the instruments?
I'm going to limit it to one instrument.
Okay, a guitar, Fender Stratocaster.
Classic.
Yeah.
Absolute classic.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that is about everything that we have written down here. Are there any projects coming up that you really want to plug? Anything you want to really put forward out there for the audience to listen to? Or what?
Well, I'm playing Prince Ghassan in the new Prince of Persia game, so I'm not the player character, but I'm the prince. Like I'm the prince they're going after. Basically, I get kidnapped. That comes out in January, I think. I'm also going to be in Disclaimer, directed by Alfonso Cuarón for Apple. I think that comes out next year at some point, but I have no idea.
Sure.
And also I just released a single under the artist name Hagar. It's called Picture Perfect. It's on Spotify, and I'm really proud of it. So
we'll put a sample of it here somewhere.
I would love you to do that. I'll send you the link.
Now get undressed. Something's happening inside myself. I feel itchy. Is this getting old? I don't have much to say, just lots to think about, and it's angry. There's only one way to know for sure. Don't pay no mind to the cracks in the floor.
Great. Perfect. All right. Well, that is about everything we had then. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. This is really fun.
That's great. Thank you so much for coming along. Well, for myself, obviously the audience, you know me on @Wembembo and everything. You can also find me on my other podcast, The Fanatics, which is wrapping up soon. So get on that while it's still live. Adam, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.